Okay.
Budu Saranai, let me welcome with respect our Dhamma speaker this evening. Of course, it's morning in USA, New York. The most venerable Bhante Enapula Gunratna Mahatera, who will be delivering the Dhamma talk today. And also let me welcome all our venerable Theros, Upasaka Upasikas, committee members, advisors, special invitees, Dhamma friends, both local and foreign. Today is the second day that we are celebrating our Vesak Poya Day, the second where we had two Dhamma talks yesterday, and today we are going to have a Dhamma talk on the topic of what did Siddhartha Gautama Bodhisattva do for attaining enlightenment. So we will have a Dhamma talk, and this will be followed by a Q&A session, and then thereafter meditation. So let me briefly introduce Most Venerable Bhante Henapula Gunratna Mahatera. I think he is no stranger to you. He's been with the conducting a number of Dhamma programs for our international Dhamma program, and the international Dhamma program where we are conducting it online via Zoom, and we always have very good participation at these Dhamma sessions. So we are happy that the new technology, the digital technology has also been put to fruitful use in the conduct of the Buddha Dhamma. So as I said earlier, Most Venerable Bhante Henapala Gunaratna Mahatera is one of the most senior monks around the world, born in rural Sri Lanka. I think it's in 1927. I think Bhante, it's 97 or 98. So has been a monk since the age of 12 and took full ordination at the age of 20 in 1947. Bhante came to USA in 1968. He is fondly called Bhante Ji by his students and also all Dhamma followers and Dhamma friends. He has written a number of books on meditation, including the now classic meditation manual, Mindfulness in Plain English, and its companion, 8 Mindful Steps to Happiness. He is the founding abbot of the Bhavana Society, which he co-founded and was set up in 1985. Most Venerable Bhante Enapula Gunratna Thero regularly conducts leads retreats on Vipassana, mindfulness, Metta, which is loving kindness, concentration, and other topics at the Bhavana Society. Prior to coming to the United States, Bhante Gunratna Mahatera spent 5 years doing missionary work with the Harijans or the untouchables of India and 10 years in Malaysia. He has taught in a number of settings, including the Buddhist Vihara of Washington, D.C., where he served as president, the American University in Washington, D.C., where he served as a Buddhist chaplain, and also earned a PhD in philosophy and at meditation centers worldwide. Bhante Ji Mahatera has a scholarly background and lifelong commitment to Dhamma. In 2005, in Sri Lanka, the Sri Lanka Henapula Gunaratana Scholarship Trust was founded, and this trust provides education for poverty-stricken children in rural Sri Lanka. So this might be one project that certainly from our side, respected Bhante, that we will be able to contribute, and I'm sure most of them who are with us will be able to get details and then support. In 1996, Bhante received the title Chief Sanganayaka of North America, And in Sri Lanka, the Sri Lanka issued a special stamp honoring Bhante Gunaratna Mahathera for his services to the nation and to Buddhism, and this was on 4th June 2023. So these are only a few of the achievements of most Venerable Bhante Gunaratna Mahathera. And now we will start our sessions, and I will invite, with respect, Bhante Gunaratna Thero to give Pansil, and thereafter to commence the Dhamma session. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Sorry, I think we have to mute.
Okay. Say Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma
Namo
Sambuddhassa.
Namo Dassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Dassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Dassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa.
Buddhang Saranang Gacchami.
Buddhang Saranang Gacchami.
Dhammang Saranang Gacchami.
Dhammang Saranang Gacchami.
Sanghang Saranang Gacchami.
Sangham Saranang Gacchami.
Dutiyampi Buddhang Saranang Gacchami.
Yampi Buddhang Saranang Gacchami.
Dutiyampi Dhammang Saranang Gacchami.
Yampi Dhammang Saranang Gacchami.
Dutiyampi Sanghang Saranang Gacchami.
Yampi Sanghang Saranang Gacchami.
Tatiyampi Buddhang Saranang Gacchami.
Tatiyampi Buddhang Saranang Gacchami.
Tatiyampi Dhammang Saranang Gacchami.
Yampi Dhammang Saranang Gacchami.
Tatiyampi Sanghang Saranang Gacchami.
Tatiyampi Sanghang Saranang Gacchami.
Tisarana Gamanang Sampunnang.
Ambante
Panatipata Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami.
Manatipata Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami.
Adinnādāna Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami.
Innādāna Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami.
Kāmesu Micchāchārā Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami.
Kāmesu Miccāchārā Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami.
Musāvādā Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami.
Tāvādā Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami.
Surameraya Majjapamadaṭṭhāna Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami.
Vāmire Majjapamadaṭṭhāna Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami.
Tisaranena Saddhim Panchasilang Samadhitvā Sadhukang Surakhitam Kattva Appamadena Sampade Tabbang.
Ambante
Sīlena Sugatim Yanti Sīlena Bhoga Sampada Sīlena Nibbhutim Yanti Tasmā Sīlaṃ Visodhaye.
Sadhu, sadhu.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Sukho buddhanang uppado sukha saddhamma desana. Sukha sanghassa samaggi samagganang tapo sukho. Dear friends, we are celebrating the most important triple events of the life of the Buddha. We all have learned that Buddha or Siddhartha Gautama Bodhisattva attained enlightenment on the full moon day of Vesak. He was born on the full moon day of Vesak, attained enlightenment on the full moon day of Vesak, and passed away on the full moon day of Vesak. First two events we cannot describe in detail, just he was born and passed away. The second event, attainment of enlightenment, and we must be very clear about what did he do to attain enlightenment in the night on the Vesak full moon day under the Bodhi tree. That is our topic, and we have to very carefully ponder on this topic, and it is most appropriate for us to think of what did he do under the Bodhi tree today or yesterday, full moon day. We know his renunciation, we heard his renunciation, and we talked about practicing self-mortification. Then we must ask, did he really practice self-mortification for 6 long years without doing anything else? This entire question is very important for us to think. So with the limited time and space available today, it is not really possible to deliver deeply, to delve into the deep, into the depth of the subject. But I will attempt to cover briefly and succinctly the most salient points relevant to this topic. Siddhartha Gautama Bodhisattva was an extraordinarily intellectual person, not just an ordinary person. He took events, the tiniest things, into serious consideration and pondered upon them deeply in order to understand their true nature. Yatha Bhuta Jnana Darsana. His entire endeavor was to completely understand the truth of life. As a young man, even while enjoying the luxurious life in a palace, in 3 palaces, he still experienced the subtle suffering of missing something in his life, which would have made him perfectly happy in his palatial life. He could not just sit back and perfectly enjoy the pleasure forced upon him by his worried father, Suddhodana. He began to see his father growing anxiety, restlessness, worry, and the craving to keep him at home to make him his successor after his death. The more luxurious his father brought to Siddhartha's life, the deeper became Siddhartha's concern about his father's worry. He saw the anxiety his father was going through as being caused by the thought that he was going to lose his most precious son Siddhartha. This gave Siddhartha a clear clue about clinging and desire, which he found to be the cause of suffering that his father was going through by separating from his beloved son. As he later said, separation from the loved ones is suffering. Vyehi vipayogo dukkho. The greater security Suddhodana provided to protect his son, the deeper Siddhartha's wisdom became of the cause of this suffering, attachment. So not to get what one wants is suffering. That is, yam pichan nalabhati tampi dukkham. So he saw clearly that only liberation from attachment to impermanent things could bring about the total and perfect happiness. While his father was endeavoring to increase his pleasure by tightening his attachment to his son, Siddhartha Gautama Bodhisattva was perfecting his practice of gaining perfect happiness by giving up attachment. Said in another way, while the father was trying very hard to cling to the son was working very hard to get rid of all clinging. This is the cord he wanted to sever completely in order to attain enlightenment. He collected and observed data to help establish his theory of gaining full and perfect happiness. His theory states that only by giving up craving can one become happy. He observed how his father's suffering increased by degrees every day, his fear and anxiety growing each day with the thought that he would someday lose his son. Siddhartha, on the other hand, was developing and strengthening his trust in his theory that by simply giving up craving he could liberate not only himself and his family, but everyone who would put this theory into practice. He strengthened and matured his wisdom every day, foreseeing that someday he would be fully liberated from all suffering by following this theory, and that he would have to leave the luxury of three palaces and attachment to his wife, parents, family, country, everything else to test his theory. When Siddhartha's son Ravana was born, and he was how his attachment to his son and bonding began to get grip of his mind. His theory finally crystallized, and he said in the Arya Paryasana Sutta. And he said, while still young, black-haired young man endowed with the blessing of youth in the prime of life, though my mother and father wished otherwise, and I wept with tearful faces, I shaved off my hair and beard, but put on the yellow robe and went forth from the home life to homelessness. Now the renunciation we heard in the tradition that he ran away in the middle of the night. He does not say that anywhere in the Buddhist uh, sutras. He said while his parents were crying, he left home. So anyway, after he left home, he met his, we all know the famous two teachers, Alarkara Buddha Rambuddha. He revered them and learned from them the way to attain state of nothingness and neither perception nor non-perception. However, their ultimate goal was not his ultimate goal. He followed his own theory of middle path that he later promulgated and strongly advocated to his followers. And this also very clearly stated. Even though self-mortification is described in several discourses, nowhere in any of these discourses how long he really practiced self-mortification. The tradition tells us that the practice of self-mortification for 6 years. He followed, of course, Indian tradition to do harmful things like severe fasting and physical punishment to the body. Then he realized that such an extreme behavior was not the way to attain enlightenment. Rather, the middle path, neither all self-indulgence nor all self-mortification, was the proper way. But by this racking practice, austerities, he said, I have not attained any superhuman state, any distinction in knowledge and vision worthy of the noble ones. Could there be any other path to enlightenment? He thought. Then, then he said, this is his own words recorded in Pali text, translated into English. I considered, I recall that when my father, the Sakyan, was occupied, while I was sitting in the cool shade of rose apple tree, quite secluded from sense pleasures, secluded from unwholesome state of mind, I entered upon an abide in the first jhana, which is accompanied by applied thought and sustained thought, with rapture and happiness born of seclusion. Then he said, could that be the path to attainment of enlightenment? Then, following on that memory, came the realization. This indeed is the path to enlightenment. Then he thought, why am I afraid of that pleasure? That has nothing to do with the sensual pleasures and unwholesome states. I thought I am not afraid of that pleasure, since it has nothing to do with sensual pleasures and unwholesome states. Then I considered it is not easy to attain that pleasure with the body so excessively emaciated. Suppose I ate some solid food, some boiled rice and porridge, and I ate some solid food, some boiled rice and porridge. Now at that time, 5 bhikkhus were waiting upon me, thinking if our recluse Gautama achieves some higher state, he will inform us. But when I ate boiled rice and some porridge, the 5 bhikkhus Konanya Bhadya Vappa Mahana Masaji were disgusted and left me, thinking the recluse Gautama now lives luxurious life. He has given up his striving and reverting to his luxurious life. Now, when I had eaten solid food and regained my strength, then he repeated the same thing, quite secluded from sense pleasures, secluded from unwholesome state of mind. I entered upon and abide in the first jhana, which is accompanied by applied thought and sustained thought, with rapture and happiness of seclusion, but both pleasure feeling that arose in me did not invade my mind and remain. So his mind was not invaded, affected by this achievement. It remained very clear because he was practicing mindfulness. So, in the morning of the full moon day, he cleansed his body, he walked up to the banyan tree and sat at the base of banyan tree, waiting for the time to go for alms round. Then Sujata offered him milk rice. After eating milk rice, he sent his alms bowl upstream of the river Neranjara. Seeing it going upstreams instead of downstream, he said to himself, "It is true that I will certainly attain Buddhahood this very day." Then he thought, what shall I do now to attain enlightenment? Then he again remembered what he said earlier. And then this is the time that he had strengthened his practice of middle path, having experimented with everything he sees, the meaninglessness of everything he had practiced before. He slowly began to realize the real benefit of the middle path, the practice of the middle path, including right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. These three belong to the concentration category of threefold division of the middle path. So he continued that practice after giving up self-mortification. So he had to practice it for a certain period of time after giving up self-mortification. Then he thought, he divided his thought into two categories, wholesome thoughts and unwholesome thoughts. When unwholesome thought arose in him, he said, "This thought of sensual desire has arisen in me. This leads to my own affliction, to the affliction of others, and to the affliction of both. It obstructs wisdom, causes difficulties, and leads away from Nibbana." He repeated this kind of practice with regard to all other unwholesome mental states. From this experience, he realized that whatever he frequently thought and pondered upon, that became the inclination of his mind. So he decided not to think of unwholesome thought, but always thought of wholesome thought. And then I try to summarizing. He deeply involved in this practice. During this time, he purified his thought, words, and deeds. He adopted right livelihood. He made right effort, right thought, right concentration, right livelihood, right mindfulness, right effort, right concern, mindfulness, and so forth. And then, after attainment of enlightenment, he met a Brahmin called Janusoni. And Janusoni asked him, were you not afraid to stay in the forest, jungle? Jungle, thicket forests on full moon nights, new moon nights are very scary. All ghosts and goblins come out and frighten people. So Buddha answering his question, he said, before my enlightenment, while I was still only an unenlightened bodhisattva, I considered thus: remote jungle thicket resting places in the forest are hard to endure. The jungle must rob bhikkhus of his mind if I did not have concentration. So first thing he learned to gain concentration to go and sit in the forest in Uruvela, near Neranjara river. Uruvela, near Neranjara river. That's why he went to slowly went and sat down before sitting down at the Bodhi tree. He was practicing this. What was he practicing? Concentration. So he said, I consider thus, whenever recluse or Brahmins unpurified in bodily conduct resort to remote jungle thicket resting place in the forest, then owing to the defect of their unpurified bodily conduct, they cannot stay there. But I do not resort to remote jungle thicket resting place in the forest unpurified in bodily conduct. That means his bodily right livelihood was purified. I am purified in my, no, bodily conduct means killing, stealing, and sexual misconduct. He completely gave up. In the Noble Eightfold Path, you see the third step. One is right understanding, then right thought, third is right action. That is bodily conduct. He purified this. This is how he practiced his Noble Eightfold Path himself. Seeing in myself this purity of the bodily conduct, I found great solace in dwelling in the forest. Now he is walking in the forest. Then, whenever recluses and Brahmins unpurified in the verbal conduct, this is Samma Vacha. What is Samma Vacha? Abstaining from false speech, malicious speech, harsh speech, and gossip. They abstain from that. Purified his thought with this and remote jungle. So, I am purified in livelihood. I resort to remote jungle thickets and resting place. Seeing in this in himself, he was very pleased and happy to live in jungle forest. Then I am purified in my covetousness, abhijja. Abhijja. That is, abhijja is one of the 10 unwholesome mental states. Dasa akusala. He purified all his mind from all these unwholesome thoughts. And then also he overcame all his hindrances, greed, lust, covetousness, and full of lust. I am purified my mind of hindrances. Then he said, with the mind of ill will and intention of hate, you cannot stay in the jungle forest. I have a mind of loving kindness. Instead of ill will, he developed loving kindness, metta. And he also developed his mind free from sloth and torpor. Thinamid, he removed it. Thinamid is one of the hindrances, and he overcome and purified his mind. I am without sloth and torpor. Instead, he had the alertness always, mindfulness. And he overcame, he said, I overcome with restlessness and unpeaceful state of mind. I have peaceful mind. That is Uddhacha Kukucha, one of the hindrances. He overcame that. And then he did not have any doubt, uncertain and doubting. I have gone beyond doubt. He went beyond doubt because he put his theory into practice, and every time he put into practice, he found the purity and clarity of his mind. So, and then while he was practicing all these things, he became more and more pure and clean. When the mind is pure and clean in some other people who have not attained enlightenment, he will become, uh, he will give into self-praise and disparaging others. But he said, I am not given to self-praise and disparaging others. Attukansana paravambana. He gave up. And then he was free from trepidation, intimidation of the thickest forest darkness at the night. He was not intimidated. When somebody without cleansing the mind goes to the forest, they will be intimidated by the quietness, eerie feelings. He did not have that. And he also did not have a desire for gaining honor and renown. I did not have any of those things. My mind was simple. I gave up laziness and and I developed my energy factor of enlightenment in Bhujanga, energy factor in the Noble Eightfold Path, that is number 6. He developed it. And then number 7 in the Noble Eightfold Path is mindfulness. He said, I am established in mindfulness. Now he was practicing mindfulness. Even while he was practicing self-mortification, he was mindful. Every moment, every fraction of a second, he maintained his mindfulness. And he said, then he gained perfect concentration. He said, I am possessed of concentration. That's what he practiced. So, I considered thus, whenever recluse or Brahmin devoid of wisdom, that is samadhi, uh, then owing to defect of their being devoid of wisdom and so forth, those Brahmins and recluses, they cannot stay in the jungle forest. But I do not resort to remote jungle thicket resting place in the forest, devoid of wisdom. Now he equipped with all these things in his mind. And then seeing myself the possession of wisdom, I found great solace in dwelling in the forest. And then I considered thus, There are specially auspicious nights of the 14th and 15th and the 8th of the fortnight. That means these are the full moon, new moon, and quarter moon. Now, what if uh, on such a night as this, I were to dwell in such a awe-inspiring, horrifying abodes as orchards, shrines, woodlands, shrines, and tree shrines? So when he was there on such a special auspicious night, he was doing walking meditation. When he was doing walking meditation, he heard the sound. He did not stop his walking meditation. He continued it. When he was sitting, he heard this sound. He did not stop it. When he was lying down, he heard this sound. He did not get up to with fear. Then he thought, I thought, why do I dwell always expecting fear and dread? What if I subdue that fear and dread while keeping the same posture that I am in when it comes upon me? He said, while I walked, the fear and dread came upon me. I neither stopped, nor sat, nor lay down till I had subdued that fear and dread. So while I stood, the fear and dread came upon me. I neither walked, nor sat, nor lay down till I had subdued that fear and dread. He was watching his mind and seeing how it passes away while that fear and dread came. And he said, I perceive night when it is night and day when it is day. In some recluses, they try to pretend themselves. When there are some recluse and Brahmins who perceive day when it is night and night when it is day. I say that on their part, this is an abiding in delusion. But I perceive night when it is night and day when it is day. Rightly speaking, were it to be said of anyone being not subject to delusion, has appeared in the world for the welfare and happiness of many, out of compassion for the world, for good and welfare or happiness of humans, it is of me indeed that rightly speaking this should be said. So he was continuing this practice, and tireless energy was aroused in me, and unremitting mindfulness was established. My body was tranquil, and I untroubled, my mind concentrated and purified. So he said, even after the enlightenment, he said, if 4 monks sit and ask me questions on mindfulness for 100 years, I will remember all these questions and answer each of them very accurately, he said. So he practiced first jhana, second jhana. Now he is slowly in the forest, walk up to the Bodhi tree after eating Sujata's food, gradually walk up to the Bodhi tree, sat under the tree, and practiced jhana, 4 jhana. First jhana, second jhana, third jhana, fourth jhana. And after attaining the fourth jhana, I may simply mention the names because you have heard these names. After attaining the fourth jhana, he, with this Bhojan has 8 wonderful qualities. What are they? The purified, the mind is purified, bright, unblemished, free of impurities, malleable, wieldy, steady, attain to imperturbability. And he said, with this, I directed it to knowledge of the recollection of past lives. In the first watch of the night, he recalled his own previous lives, 1, 2, 3, and so forth, many eons and eons and eons of his own life, and where he was born, what he did, and what was his name, what he ate, and so forth. Everything, with all minute detail, he recalled of his previous life. There I was named, my clan, my such and such. And then in the middle of the night, with the same purity of mind, he saw other living beings dying and taking rebirth according to their own karma. In the third watch night, he concentrated on the destruction of defilements. Asavakkhaya jnana. I directed to knowledge of the destruction of taints. Directly knew as it actually is. This is suffering. I directly knew as it actually is. This is the origin of suffering. I directly knew as it actually is. This is the cessation of suffering. I directly knew as it actually is. This is the way leading to the cessation of suffering. I directly knew as it actually is. These are taints. I directly knew as they really are. This is origin of taints. I directly knew as it actually is. This is the cessation of taints. I directly knew as it is. This is the cessation of taints. When I knew and so thus my mind was liberated from the taints of sensual desires, from the taints of being, from the taints of ignorance, kamasava, bhavasava, avijjasava. When it was liberated, there came knowledge and vision. It is liberated. I directly knew birth is destroyed. The holy life has been lived. What had to be done has been done. There is no more for me to do anything in samsara. So, now, after this, the Buddha said he defeated 10 armies. Mara has 10 armies. What are the 10 armies? Buddha listed these 10 armies in the Sutta Nipata. He said, Kamate Patamasena, Dutiya Arati Uchyati, Tatya Kuppipasacha, Chatutti Channa Pauchati. Let me say it in English, it will be easier for you to remember. Pali stanza is long. Sensual pleasures are your first army. Buddha's army. Discontent is called your second army. Your third is hunger and thirst. The fourth is called craving. Sloth and torpor are your fifth army. Sixth is called your fear. Your seventh is doubt. Hypocrisy and obstinity is your seventh. Gain, renown, honor, and whatever fame is falsely received, that is your ninth. whoever both exalts and himself and desperates others, that is the 10th army. These are the 10 armies he destroyed. So, after destroying these armies and attaining full enlightenment, all these soldiers are scattered. He mentioned it in after this. Then one more thing I want to say and finish this discourse. That is, after this, all these things, Buddha sat there, sat cross-legged for 7 days, experiencing the bliss of emancipation, bliss of liberation. Then at the end of those 7 days, he emerged from that concentration and gave well reconsidered attention during the first watch of the night to dependent origination in forward order thus. Imasmin sati idang hoti. Imasa uppada idang uppajati. That means this being, this is. From the arising of this arises. That is what he did in the after he coming out of his 7 days meditation, experiencing bliss of emancipation, and that night, after coming out of that he sat down again, and then that night he first watch he saw this. After that he sat across again. 7 days experiencing the bliss of emancipation. Then at the end of those 7 days, he emerged from that concentration and gave well reasoned attention during the middle watch of the night of the dependent origination. That is, iti imasmin asati idang nahoti. Imas nirodha idang nirujjati. When this is not being, this is not. From the cessation of this ceases. That is avidya nirodha, tanha sankara nirodha. And like that. First one is avidya samudaya, sankara samudayo. Second is avidya nirodha, sankara nirodha. Then he sat again for cross-legged. And then in the third of the night, after getting up, he said he practiced this dependent origination in forward order and reverse order. It is this. Imasmin sati idang hoti, imasa uppada idang uppajati, imasmin asati idang nahoti, imasa nirodha idang nirojati. That is, this being, this is. From the arising of this arises. This not being, this is not. From the cessation of this ceases. Friends, although I said I will speak 45 minutes, since this subject is very, very important, very profound, we must all know what did he do to attain enlightenment. So we don't believe that he practiced only self-mortification and attain enlightenment. Self-mortification is for a certain period, and before and after, especially after the self-mortification, what he did was the most important part of the attainment of enlightenment. And with this, I want to end this talk, and now it is your turn to ask me questions.
Thank you very much, Bante for that very excellent explanation on really the attaining of enlightenment and the different factors that were affected in this whole thing. So I would request all our participants to send their questions through the Q&A. Of course, there have been some questions even before the Dhamma talk that were there. I would like to maybe initially check up. I don't know whether we have some of our panelists who are here who would like to ask any questions. I can maybe before we take the other questions, is there anyone who would like to ask a question? I think Deepal, any question you would like to ask?
Yes, Bhante, very nice to see you. Before I ask a question, now that I got this opportunity, let me thank you again for uh, doing that beautiful review for my book. The question that came to my mind, Bhante, now you beautifully illustrated the path to enlightenment using directly the various sutras. So it comes out over and over again. These dhyanas are essential steps to become enlightenment. Is it so for everyone, or is it for only a bodhisattva? Or is it essential for everybody else also to pass these jhanas?
I think that's a good question. I explained how Buddha attained enlightenment. Buddha had to practice jhana, all the jhanas, because he wanted to perfect everything. That is samatha vipassana. Both he had to practice samatha meditation, vipassana practice to make him fully enlightened person. When after he taught the Dhamma, he specifically mentioned in several places that you can attain enlightenment without practicing all the jhanas, without having any supernatural powers. I give you one example. In Samyutta Nikaya, there is a discourse called Susima Sutta. Susima Sutta. Susima was an Niganta's follower. One of the Nigantas asked him to learn the Buddha's method, to sneak into the Buddha's community and learn the method. So he could not get into their community without being a monk. So he went and asked somebody to make another monk to make him a monk. So he became monk. And then one day he went to see the Buddha. And after seeing the Buddha, he was sitting next to him in certain places, some distance from the Buddha. Then a group of monks came to see the Buddha. And they all declared, Venerable Sir, we all attain enlightenment. So when they were going out, Susima met them and asked, Venerable Sirs, you said you have attained enlightenment. Can you read others' thoughts? They said no. Can you disappear in one place and reappear in another place? They said no. Can you perform any miracles? They said no. Then Susima got confused. And he said, you are not enlightened. If you are enlightened, you should be able to do all these things. And then when they left, he went to the Buddha and said, Venerable Sir, I was listening to what these monks reported to you, and they said they were enlightened. I asked them these questions. They said they could not do any of those things. Therefore, I don't think that they attain enlightenment. Then at that point, Buddha described there are some who attain enlightenment without jhanas, without any miraculous powers, by following vipassana method, only mindfulness method. You gain certain degree of concentration, enough for you to see your body, feeling, perception, thought, and consciousness changing in every minute moment, every nanosecond, every molecule, every atom, everything in your body is changing. Every moment of your mind is changing. That knowledge will be enough for you to destroy your greed, hatred, and delusion, to gain impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and selflessness. Then you attain full enlightenment, but not perfect. But you will never be reborn again. You are fully qualified arahant. But in addition to your attainment of that, you can practice jhanas, form jhana, formless jhana, and gain supernatural powers and so forth. These are additional things. Like when you become a doctor, you want to become a specialist in surgery. You become surgeon or gynecologist and so on. But you are virtually doctor. Yeah.
Thank you, Bante.
Yes.
Senaka, any question you have? Senaka Samrasingha?
No, at the moment, no.
Right, okay. Right. I think, Rohan, you have any question?
Not a question, Lakshman, this observation. Thank Bhante for the very presentation of the Siddhartha's path towards enlightenment and what he had to do very much. But I had the pleasure of welcoming Bhante to New and
That's Ambassador Rohan Perra. He was at the UN, and I think he has invited Bante for one of the Dhamma sermons. Ambassador Rohan Pereira, who was
events in
right. Okay, thank you, Rohan. Any of our other Indrajit, or are you having anything? Indrajit, Nalindra, any questions you have?
Yeah, no, Lakshman, thank you.
Okay, right. Nalindra, anything you have? Right. Okay. We will go to the questions. Actually, what I will do is, Ranjit will come to your questions after taking the other ones. There is an anonymous attendee who has asked the question, if Buddha initially practiced up to 8th jhana with the two teachers and realized this still didn't lead to liberation, then why did Buddha recollect the experience of bliss of jhanas again as a child when he has already gone through the jhanas with the two teachers? Thank you,
Okay.
Bhante, for a great
That's
talk.
a good question. I hope somebody would ask me this question. I'm glad you asked this question. When he practiced 8 jhanas, first 4 are called Ditta Dhamma Sukha Vihara, enjoying happiness in this life. Second set called Arupa Jhana, this is called Santa Vimokha, Shanta Vimokha, peaceful liberation. And when he attained these 8, as Salara, Karama, Guddha, Raput, and so forth, he learned all these things. He learned all this. But even if you attain the highest Arupa Jhana, Santa Vimokha, Neva Sanyana, Sanya, so forth, you still will be in samsara. Because your ignorance is there, your notion of self is there. So long as you have ignorance and notion of self, you are subject to suffering. So you are not liberated. You still have attachment to samsara. And that is why he said, when I recollected my attainment of the first jhana under the rose apple tree on the day, Pravin festival day, that time as an innocent boy, I did not have any fear of that. Why? I did not have desire. So he thought that might be the way. So when he attained that state, after giving up all these features, he followed the right concentration. Right concentration ends in seeing things as they really are. That is why he repeatedly mentioned, Samahitam chittam yatha bhutam pajanati. Concentrated mind sees things as they really are. And this concentrated mind, this concentration must be pure, clean, free from idiosyncrasies, no disturbance, and pure mindfulness, equanimity, both are equally pure, and there is not a scruple of desire. That is why he was able to recollect his previous lives, seeing others dying and taking rebirth, and being able to focus the mind on asava, kilesa, asava, anusaya. There are four layers. One is nivarana, second is sanyojana, third is asava, fourth is anusaya. So long as you have sanyojana, nivarana can arise. When you destroy nivarana and sanyojana, there still can be idiosyncrasies called asava, kamasava, bhavasava, ditthasava. When you destroy asava, there is another layer called anusaya. Asaya, anusaya. Anusaya means underlying tendency called anusaya, sleeping along with you. And that is the subtlest state. Once you destroy, you can destroy all of them when you are on right concentration. And those Alara, Kalama, Uddha, Ramputtas had not attained right concentration. Their concentration is limited to attain Brahma realms. When in the Brahma Nimantana Sutta, or Sariputta, Brahma Nimantana Sutta, Buddha went to the Brahma realm and met Bhaka Brahma. And Bhaka Brahma said, this is the final Nibbana. Here no one die and so forth. And Buddha immediately proved that he was wrong, that he was impermanent. He shook it. He shook it, Brahma's realm, and the Brahma was very much afraid. Then Buddha said, you are afraid, you have fear, so you are not liberated. You are not at Nibbana. And so forth. He proved that Brahma realms were not permanent. And therefore, Nevasanya and Asanya, according to Alaraka, Uddaka, Ramputta, were not final Nibbana. That is why Buddha have to start, Siddhartha Bodhisattva had to start everything all over again on his own way, following the middle path, practicing mindfulness and concentration. If you have concentration without mindfulness, that is not right concentration. Your concentration must be accompanied with mindfulness. And that is the Buddha's own special discovery. So you can see the difference between these two. Okay?
Thank you, Bante. The next one is anonymous again. Was this talk based on Arya Pariyesana Sutta?
No. This sutta is this discourse I gave you is based on Bhaya Bhairava Sutta, Majjhima Nikaya. Bhaya Bhairava Sutta, if you like, I can trace very quickly. Bhaya Bhairava Sutta, I think 30 Sachaka. Bhaya If you give me 1 second, Bhaya Bhairava Sutta, Bhaya Bhairava Sutta, I just,
Majjhima Nikaya 1-4.
yeah,
Majjhima Nikaya 1-1-4.
1-4, is it? Okay.
Majjhima Nikaya 4, yeah. Mula Parnasaka, we can.
No, 1-4?
Middle discourses 4.
104? No.
No, 4.
104.
No,
Right,
4.
you are right. 4.
4.
Majjhima Nikaya Sutta number 4.
Yes.
Bhaya Bhairava.
Right.
Januswani asked him, it is difficult, ask him how to live in a forest. It is difficult. And Buddha said, this is what you have to do to get rid of your fear, to live in a forest.
Thank you, Bante. I think the same question has been asked by Lian Seang Goi, and of course, same thing about the sutta, which Bante has now explained.
Yeah.
There is another question from Anoja Vijayasekara. Excellent talk, Venerable Sir. Does this same process have to be followed by everyone?
Well, everyone who wants to attain enlightenment must overcome the hindrances and fetters, asavas and anusayas. But they don't have to, all of them don't have to practice jhanas. Those who are young have plenty of time and so forth. In, I must say, Abhay Kumara Sutta in Majjhima Nikaya Sutta, Majjhima Nikaya, Buddha said, if somebody is honest, healthy, has faith, and perseverance, make effort and wisdom, if somebody has these 5 qualities, Buddha said, I would instruct him in the morning. In the evening, he attain enlightenment. If I instruct him in the evening, he will attain enlightenment next morning, provided he has these 5 qualities. And that means that person is not expected to practice jhana. Another example is Migasala. Migasala you find in Anguttara Nikaya. Migasala was a woman who invited Venerable Ananda to lunch. After lunch, she asked him a question. Venerable said, my father is Purana. After my birth, he became a brahmacharya. He observed brahmacharya, celibate life. And when he passed away, Buddha said he had attained stream entry. But my uncle, my father's brother, Isidatta, enjoyed his pleasure, sensual pleasure, all his life. When he passed away, also Buddha said that he attained stream entry. And he asked Venerable Ananda, how is it possible? I'm confused. Venerable Ananda himself, although had attained stream entry, could not answer this question. He said, yeah, that is what Buddha said. So he went to the Buddha and reported this. Then Buddha said, Ananda, some people are faith-oriented, some people are wisdom-oriented. Faith-oriented people have to go through a lot of training, practice. Wisdom-oriented people don't have to go through a lot of training. They attain stream entry very quickly. Another example, in Anguttara Nikaya, there is a Marana Sati Sutta. Marana Sati. One day Buddha asked bhikkhus whether you practice Marana Sati, mindfulness of the death. One monk said, Venerable Sir, if I live one whole day, then that time is enough for me to practice Marana Sati and attain enlightenment. Another monk said, if I live long enough to go my arms round and come home and come to my kuti and eat, if I live that long, I can attain stream entry by practicing Marana Sati. Third monk said, if I had enough time to eat what I collected from my alms food, that time is enough for me to practice mindfulness of death and attain liberation. Next one said, if I had enough time to eat the morsel of food that is in my arms, my palm, that may be enough. That time may be enough for me to attain liberation by practicing mindfulness of death. The last monk said, Venerable Sir, if I have time to take one inhaling and one exhaling, that time is enough for me to practice mindfulness of death and attain enlightenment. That means that monk was practicing only mindfulness, not jhanas. Because it is so subtle changes taking place in us all the time.
Bhante, can we take another question or shall we start the meditation because of the time?
I think if you want to meditate little, at least 20 minutes,
Yeah, so we start then.
we better stop here.
Right.
I don't mind answering question. I'm very happy to answer question. But at the same time, I also want to emphasize, especially on the day that we celebrate Buddha's triple most important events, Patipatti Puja is very important. Practice is very important. Listening to Dhamma, giving dana and so forth are good. But all this culminated in the practice of meditation. And therefore, let us do some meditation. Okay?
Right, thank you, Bhante.
Okay, let me say only very few words for all of us to sit and meditate. Friends, we sit very quietly, keeping the body straight and upright. Take a deep breath. As Buddha said in Anapana, Dighang vasa santo dighang asasami iti pajanati. take a deep inhaling and breathe out deep exhaling. Normally, it is said that we breathe out only 60% of our air in our lungs. 40% remain in our lungs. I recommend we breathe out that 40% also, so that lungs will be empty of air. At the next breath, you take lung full of air. Lung will be completely expanded and completely contracted. When it is completely expanded, you get a lot of oxygen. The Buddha said the breath is kaya sankhara, body conditioner. How the breath conditions the body? Because when we breathe in, we charge our red blood cells with oxygen. That blood cells go to the heart. Heart pumps throughout our body with this oxygen-rich new blood cells, red blood cells. And they go to every cell. People say that there are 56 cells in our body. Each of them need oxygen. And we get lot of oxygen when we breathe deeply in and deeply out. This is how we condition the body. This entire body requires oxygen for our survival, to maintain the body. We all know without food and water we can stay for some times, but without oxygen we cannot stay any long, any more than a minute or two, perhaps few more minutes. But we need oxygen all the time. And therefore, even also I like to mention, I have experimented this. When you do this kind of breathing for 5 minutes sitting on a chair and check your blood pressure, pressure would be low. In order to lower the blood pressure, this kind of very mindful, slow walk, slow breathe is very important. Whenever we breathe out very slowly, we build up carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is not also so bad. Carbon dioxide dilates our arteries so that blood flow will be very smooth through the open arteries. Cavity of arteries become wider. And therefore, long inhaling slowly, slow, long exhaling gives us plenty of time to have oxygen, plenty of time for us to understand impermanence of our cells. Every moment our blood cells lose their oxygen, then we have to breathe again and again 25,000 times a day. And this is very, very important for us to remember and breathe very slowly, mindfully, to gain concentration, to understand impermanent nature of our body, feeling, perception, thought, and consciousness, to overcome our greed, hatred, delusion, to understand anicca, dukkha, anatta. So this is very important. So let us do this, and I stop my talk.
One day we can end the meditation session.
Okay.
Right. So thank you very much, Bante. So anything on the meditation, Bante, want to say anything?
Well, if you all spend this time meditating, there will be enough.
So I will.
Let me end this by sharing metta.
Can I, before that, Bante, can I invite Udaya to pay merit to Bante?
Yes, let me read this first for you all.
Right.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
By means of this meritorious deed, may I never join with the foolish. May I join always with the wise until the time I attain Nibbana. May the suffering be free from suffering. May the fear-struck be free from fear. May the grieving be free from grief. So too may all beings be. From the highest realm of existence to the lowest, may all beings arisen in these realms, with form and without form, with perception and without perception, be released from all suffering and attain to perfect peace. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Okay,
Right. Sadhu, sadhu.
that is
Uh,
my metta wish at the end of every meditation session.
Right.
And now also I have to mention one more thing. All this information I gave you on what Siddhartha Gautama did to attain enlightenment, all of them you don't find in Bhaibhaiva Sutta. Some I took from Arya Pariyasana Sutta, some Mahasachaka Sutta, and some Udana Pali Bodhivagga, this dependent origination is mentioned in Udana Pali Bodhivagga, first chapter, and so forth. I did research into this and found various sources to make this speech. So I have to mention this. Okay?
Thank you, Bante.
Mhm.
I'll now invite Udaya Ganepala to pay merit to Bante.
Can you hear me? Thank you, Lakshman. It is a great privilege and immense pleasure to deliver this vote of thanks and offer merit to most venerable Henapola Gunaratana, the Mahanayaka Thera of North America, well known as Bante Ji. This is a very special occasion to me and all the attendees here in this room today because I'm conducting this speech from right here in Bhavana Society, not adjacent to Bante Ji in West Virginia, USA. We are attending a 6-day retreat here in Bhavana Society in the subject of Noble Eightfold Path, all orchestrated by Bante Ji. Today I'm going to take extend my thanks to not only because of Bante's willingness to come on this program every Vesak and give us Dhamma teaching, but also because of Bante Ji's contribution to Buddhism, to propagate Buddhism in the US and also all over the world. In his teaching Dhamma through books and speeches. So big thank you and tribute to Bante Ji for all the contribution you have done to make Buddhism a popular religion in US. Every time I come to the meditation center in West Virginia, I always get amazed by the amount of books that are available for the public free of charge, that is given, all written by Bante Ji and available for the attendees for a voluntary contribution donation. And this time I happened to notice a book, not written by Bante Ji, but about Bante Ji and Bante Ji's contribution in 150 Pali stanzas written by a famous monk. And that's a very good tribute to the autobiography of Bhante for anyone who want to know, in a summary, a nutshell of all his contribution. I'm afraid you have to come to West Virginia to get that book because it's not available, I guess. It's a small booklet, some 60 some pages, but it's very well worth reading. So I don't want to take a lot of time. I just want to say thank you again, Bhante, for all the work, hard work, and your dedication, and coming on this program on behalf of our International Dhamma program. Thank you. Back to you, Lakshman.
Thank you. Thank you there. And since you mentioned about books, I received a book when I went for that function which was held in Sri Lanka. It says Tumpaneng Amerikawata Vadi Sangaraja. Tumpaneng Amerikawata Vadi Sangaraja. That says that from the Tumpane is the name of the city or the town, and the most venerable Thero that came from Tumpane to USA or United States of America. I think it was stage 1, and maybe the stage 2 is coming.
Excuse me.
Yeah,
Tumpane is an area called Tumpane Palat.
Tumpane Pala.
Palat in Nur Kandy district.
Hmm.
And my village name is Hene Pola in Tumpane district.
Right.
Oh, Palat, yes.
Thank you very much, Bhante, for giving the explanation in detail. I must also say that today we are having 2 of our Dhamma friends who have also made donations to the Bhavana Society, and I would like them to maybe pay merit to Bhante. First, Indrajit Vijay Sirivardhana. Indrajit, you're there. Can you, if you... Indrajit, can you unmute?
Yes, Lakshman.
Right.
Yes.
So thank you very much, and you can pay much merit to...
He is in Sri Lanka?
No, Bhante, I'm in Laos at the moment.
You told me earlier. Yes.
Right. Then thank you, Indrajit. Then the other Dhamma friend is Nalindra Jayatilaka. Nalindra, you're there?
Nalindra.
Nalindra, can you unmute Nalindra? Right.
Okay.
I think he has some difficulty with the
It's
computer.
okay.
So once again, we thank and pay much merit to our most reverend, most venerable Bhante Henapola Gunaratna Mahathera for sparing the valuable time, because today, as mentioned, is a very important day, and Bhante has been with us, coming for many of our Dhamma talks for the International Dhamma program, and also accepting our invitation. So we pay much merit to Bhante, and we wish good health, and also that Bhante will also be able to achieve the ultimate Nibbana during this life. And we do hope that all those who have listened today, all the participants have gained a lot from the Dhamma talk that was given, and that they will be able to gain and also practice the Dhamma, and for them too, that they will be able to take the path of enlightenment. Once again,
Okay.
thank you, and I will invite Bhante to pay merit to the Devas and also to the departed, and then conclude the...
Okay. Okay. Let me conclude now. We are getting very close to our lunch time, and the people are waiting.
Yeah.
Okay. Akasattha cha bhummattha Deva naga mahiddhika Punyantang anumoditva chirang rakhantu sasanang chirang rakhantu desanang chirang rakhantu mang parang ittavata cham hehi sambhatang punya sampadang sabbe deva anumodantu sabbe bhuta anumodantu sabbe satta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
So
Okay, now I
thank you
close.
and much merit to Bante.
I'm
Sadhu,
glad
sadhu,
to see
sadhu.
some of our friends, all friends. They are not all in age, but by association with them, it's very old.
I think there was one group, Buddhist group of Kendall, and they said that they are
In
having
England, yeah.
an right. So thank you and much merit to Bante.
So,